This year, 2025, we remember not just one, but two historic wartime victories. It's now been 80 years since the Allies formally accepted Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender in Europe. People spontaneously took to the streets on Tuesday, the 8th of May, 1945, to mark what's gone down in our national story as VE Day. The war was over. Well, sort of. Despite the understandable euphoria, the Pacific Asian campaign continued for a further 3 desperate months. It's sometimes referred to as the Forgotten War. However, tens of thousands of British troops fought on against the retreating Japanese army. During May, Japan was heavily bombed and attacked in the southern Philippines, and fighting continued unabated. There was a decisive battle at the Malacca Strait, and the Japanese cruiser Haguro was sunk. Yokohama was bombed, and in June strikes were made on Kushi. Suddenly the tide was turning, and there was a general state of retreat by the Japanese in central China, followed by a major defeat for them at Okinawa. The Philippines were liberated, and the homelands of Tokyo were bombed for the very first time. The Allied leaders felt that the time was right to insist on an unconditional surrender of Japan, but still the fighting went on. It was then that an atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, followed by another on Nagasaki. In the aftermath of the shock of that massive destruction, and following the loss of so many lives, the Japanese accepted the terms outlined in the Potsdam Declaration. VJ Day, Victory in Japan, took place on Wednesday the 15th of August 1945, but in a much less celebratory mood than VE Day. After all, 50,000 British had been captured, and more than 12,000 of them had died of starvation and disease. Many had been forced into slave labour, and when it was all over, communities on both sides were left with deep physical and emotional scars. The drastic conclusion reached through atomic bombs is still ingrained on our world psyche. But then so is the cruelty of jungle fighting, the forced labour, and the POW camps. Here in the town of Maldon, there are 86 names on the 1939-45 plaques on our war memorial outside All Saints Church in the High Street. Amongst those names are men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in the Pacific Asian campaign. Christian missionary Reverend Alfred, former resident of Mount View, Maldon, was mercilessly beheaded by the Japanese on the Gilbert Islands on the 15th of October 1942. On the island of Sumatra, former Maldon residents Rhoda and Thomas Curran Sharp also died at the hands of the Japanese. They lived on the Raja Musa estate. Civilian Rhoda died on the 11th of May 1945, aged 67, whilst Thomas, a native of Woodham Walter, was a member of the Selangor Local Defence Corps and died in captivity on the 4th of February 1945, aged 54. Royal Engineer Sapper Stanley Easter, husband of Ruby Easter of Maldon, lies in Yokohama War Cemetery. He ended his days there in grueling conditions on the 21st of July 1945 as a 32-year-old prisoner of war. And then there is Maldon Grammar School lad, Flying Officer Alan Ife of 20 Squadron. He was shot down flying his Hurricane on the 6th of April 1945, aged 20. He's at rest at Tulkarna War Cemetery, Myanmar, formerly Burma. His distraught parents, Alfred and Doris Ife of Maldon, added a personal inscription on his grave in that far-off foreign field. In many ways, it epitomises all of those lost in the campaign. It reads as follows: "Though so far away, never forgotten by all who loved him." As well as those who made the ultimate sacrifice, at this time I also think of the local veterans who survived but are no longer with us. Not least, dear Derek Fitch, grandson of former Maldon Mayor Edward Arthur Fitch. Derek lived his later life at Baker Mews and died in 2015, aged 93. He was a founder member of the elite RAF regiment and actually fought at the turning point that was the bloody Battle of Kohima. Every year he would poignantly read the world-famous Kohima epitaph at Maldon's Remembrance Service. "When you go home, tell them of us and say, 'For your tomorrow, we gave our today.'" At this time we think of Derek and all of the other men and women of the forgotten war, and what they did for us, for our freedom, and for 80 years of relative peace. That's why it's so important that we mark the anniversary not just of VE Day, but VJ Day as well.